Welcome to another episode of World of Africa on WION World is One. This week on the show, a spectacular phenomenon of millions of antelope migrating across South Sudan has been revealed during the country's first comprehensive aerial wildlife survey. Once thought lost due to decades of conflict, the mass movement of these creatures has not only been rediscovered, but is thriving. I'll tell you more about that feat shortly. I'm Eric Njoka. Thank you for joining us. We begin from the Caribbean this time around. Haiti's interim Prime Minister Eric Njoka has vowed to end lawlessness with the help of a Kenyan-led international force deployed to the Caribbean nation. The Prime Minister says the arrival of 400 Kenyan police officers in the first tranche of an international force was a unique opportunity to restore order. Rocked by decades of instability, the Caribbean nation has seen an escalation of violence following the assassination of President Jovenel Moise 3 years ago. Many are skeptical that the Kenyan forces will be effective in eradicating the gun crisis. Some are, however, hopeful that they will. This next report decodes the presence of Kenya in Haiti.
When they touched down at Port-au-Prince, the police officers made sure their presence was noticed in Haiti. Even the Haitian interim Prime Minister Eric Njoka was at the airport to receive the first batch of the Kenyan contingent. For the Premier, the deployment and mission is a big deal.
I want no one to doubt the purpose of the mission. The state will regain power and reaffirm its authority so all Haitians can live peacefully in this country. We ask all of you to be prepared to make sacrifices. We must take our responsibilities before history and we must send another image of Haiti. Haiti was not like this and Haiti cannot stay like this.
The 400 officers got right to business. They're seen here patrolling the streets of the capital a day after their arrival. Working with the Haitian police and headquartered at a US-built base, the Kenyan officers will aim to take back key sites that have fallen under the control of gangs, including the nearby airport and seaports. Their deployment has been authorized for 1 year, with a review to be held after 9 months.
This is a significant milestone in our pursuit of sustainable peace and security, which are the foundations of freedom, democracy, and prosperity at home, in our region, and around the world, including in Haiti.
Gang violence on average killed or injured more than 1 person per hour in the first 3 months of this year, and that's according to UN data. Haiti's police force has just 9,000 officers. By contrast, it is estimated that as many as 8,000 Haitians belong to 200 or so armed gangs, with roles ranging from commanders to informants. Recruitment has increased in recent years. The gangs now have as much firepower as the police, with their leader even threatening the Kenyan forces.
I don't care if they're white or black. Since they're not Haitian and they're on Haitian soil, I consider them to be invaders. An invader will never do us any good. Let's remember what they've already done to us.
But critics say Kenya is merely doing the bidding of the US and hopes to curry favor with the superpower, especially on the security front. On a recent visit to Washington, President Ruto also mentioned wanting to boost Kenya's international standing in this arena. But at home, he's facing significant opposition, and Kenya's High Court has ruled that the deployment is unlawful. This delayed the arrival of the first officers. The court stated that the Kenyan government has no authority to send police officers abroad without a prior reciprocal agreement.
Now, as the Kenyan forces came, the country can improve. But they must stay. If they come for 2 or 3 months, or a year, that is not enough, because the country is going to fall into the same police problem we are afraid of. They are out of control. We don't know who is good and who is bad. We have to end this system.
Although Kenya has a history of taking part in peacekeeping missions, its police forces never set foot outside Africa. It is believed that the deployed unit will come from the General Service Unit, GSU, a parliamentary wing often deployed during demonstrations and terrorist attacks. It has not previously been used against international criminal networks like the Haitian gangs. But the Kenyan government said the deployed officers had received specialized training, including lessons in French and Haitian Creole to ease communication with their counterparts. Another hurdle in sight will be the chain of command. Haiti has seen 3 major peacekeeping missions in the last 30 years, which have all failed to prevent the crisis getting worse. Haitians have seen peacekeeping missions come and go with no stability achieved. They'll be hoping for a different outcome this time around. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
South Sudan is home to a magnificent array of wonderful wildlife, including giant yet elegant birds, stately elephants, majestic giraffes, and now the largest land mammal migration on Earth. This spectacular phenomenon, known as the Great Nile migration, was revealed during the first comprehensive aerial survey of wildlife in the country. But our next report starts from South Africa, where researchers are testing nuclear technology to curb rhino poaching.
Injecting rhinos with a radioactive material is quite an undertaking. First, the animal is tranquilized before a hole is drilled into its horn and the nuclear material is carefully inserted. Researchers in South Africa injected 20 live rhinos with these isotopes with the help of veterinarians and nuclear experts. The radioactivity is very low and its potential negative impact on the animal was tested extensively.
What you've just seen here is something new, something completely novel. We are now using radioisotopes inserted in the horn to make the horn, to devalue the horn in the eyes of end users, because we've got to do something new and something different to reduce poaching.
According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, an international conservation body, the global rhino population was 500,000 at the beginning of the 20th century. It now stands at around 27,000 due to the continued demand for rhino horns in the black market. Dehorning rhinos doesn't work as it disrupts their social interactions. Embedding the horn with isotopes poses no harm for the animals but make them incredibly poisonous for humans.
And this is awful, really. I mean, rhinos are very territorial, and the moment you begin to kind of impact on the ways in which they can defend their territory.
South Africa has the largest population of rhinos, an estimated 16,000, making it a hotspot with over 500 rhinos killed yearly. Researchers hope the process can be replicated to save other wild species vulnerable to poaching, like elephants and pangolins. And as the researchers are striving to save the rhinos in Limpopo, South Sudanese discovered a new phenomenon. The first comprehensive aerial survey of wildlife in conflict-affected South Sudan has revealed the largest land mammal migration on Earth, with an estimated 6 million antelope recorded moving across the Boma-Bandingilo-Jonglei landscape. Conducted by African Parks in partnership with the South Sudanese Ministry of Wildlife Conservation and Tourism and support from the Wilderness Project, the survey is described as confirming a remarkable and unmatched wildlife phenomenon across a landscape of immense ecological importance.
This announcement is an opportunity for the country to embark on a new narrative, one that is not associated with conflict and poverty.
The survey findings were described as confirming a remarkable and unmatched wildlife phenomenon across a landscape of immense ecological importance. South Sudan is home to a magnificent array of wonderful wildlife, including giant yet elegant birds, stately elephants, majestic giraffes, and now the largest land mammal migration on earth.
I urge the private sector to embrace this exciting opportunity and invest in wildlife tourism ventures. Protecting our heritage is a shared responsibility.
The long-term conservation and protection of this migration landscape can only be achieved through the active participation and engagement with government institutions at national, state and district levels, as well as traditional authorities and, importantly, the local communities.
The Wildlife Migration Survey tells a story of hope for South Sudan, as what was once thought to be lost to decades of conflict has not only been rediscovered but is thriving. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
With cessationist tendencies in the alliance of Sahel states, double-digit inflation in Ghana and Nigeria, and public debt reaching record levels, the currency of the Economic Community of West African States does not look likely to enter circulation in 2027 as planned. And now the bloc is seeking funds to establish a 5,000-strong security force to combat terrorism in the region. Here's a report.
The bloc's finance ministers gathered in Abuja to chart a course for what the new financial system will be since the adoption for a change was made in 2018. The pullout of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger Republic have further impacted the bloc's revenue sources. The new chair of the Finance Committee noted that the meeting would also push for the review of the bloc's community levy payment protocols.
Those figures underscore the gravity of the task before us and the necessity of a robust and sustainable resource mobilization strategy. It is therefore imperative that we critically review the options considering the current challenges confronting our region and the financial constraints facing our various member states.
The bloc needs up to $2.6 billion annually to establish a 5,000-strong security force to combat terrorism. In fact, the finance meeting was in session when a series of attacks by suspected suicide bombers in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state left at least 20 dead and more than 30 others injured. Borno is at the center of a 15-year Islamist insurgency that has killed thousands and displaced millions more. Although the Nigerian military has degraded the capabilities of the militants, they still carry out deadly attacks against civilians and security targets. Boko Haram and its splinter group Islamic State West Africa Province are the most active militant groups in Borno, a large swathe of rural hinterland the size of Ireland. Over the course of the insurgency, Boko Haram has repeatedly deployed young women and girls to carry out suicide attacks. The group seized Gwaza in 2014 when its militants took over swathes of territory in northern Borno. The violence has killed more than 40,000 people and displaced around 2 million in Nigeria's northeast. Ecowas say they have a solution to pacify the terror.
It is believed that we cannot fight terrorism alone or while others are not participating. That is why the Commission proposed to the authority, through, of course, the Council of Ministers, that although countries might be under suspension, they should be allowed to take part in meetings relating to security as well as in sectoral meetings. So that is why we have invited all 15 member states to attend this important and crucial meeting.
Nigerian Defense Minister told the meeting that there were two options for a regional force. One which would cost $2.6 billion annually for a brigade of 5,000 and another that would cost $481 million for 1,500 troops. The finance meeting was seeking to resolve the complications relating to trade, data and revenue management to protect the bloc from any potential economic meltdown resulting from hampered relation with the exiting states. Implementing the decisions is what the Bloc's Commission will need to adhere to in a cash crunch situation facing many economies within the region. Coup-hit West Africa is grappling with a raft of political crises that have hurt regional cooperation. In January, military-ruled Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali decided to exit the 15-member union. Africa Bureau WION World is One.
Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani comfortably won re-election, receiving 56.12% of the vote in the first round of the presidential poll. The victory gives the former army chief a second term as head of the country, seen as a rock of relative stability in Africa's Sahel region. Mauritania has not recorded an attack on its soil in recent years, and Ghazouani, who currently chairs the African Union, has promised to manage threats from such groups. Here's a report.
Mauritania's incumbent president, Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, has won re-election, according to provisional results released by the Electoral Commission on Sunday. That was with over 56% of the vote, results from more than 99% of polling stations on the Electoral Commission's website showed. Analysts had expected the former Army Chief of Staff and Defence Minister to win the race in the first round, thanks to the dominance of Mauritania's ruling party. Ghazouani's main challenger, however, has rejected the provisional results. Anti-slavery activist Biramda Abeid, who was said to have got 22.14% of the vote, alleged there were irregularities. In the 2019 presidential election, some opposition candidates questioned the credibility of the vote, sparking small-scale protests. Many of Mauritania's 5 million people live in poverty, and that's despite the West African country's fossil fuel and minerals wealth. On the campaign trail, Ghazouani promised to boost investment to spur a commodities boom, as Mauritania prepares to start producing natural gas by the end of the year.
Now, in a major shift in Somalia, women have joined the male-dominated traffic police to help control congestion, particularly in the capital Mogadishu. The role was previously off-limits for women in the conservative Muslim nation, where they traditionally worked only behind desks in administrative jobs.
Dressed in white uniform and sporting a blue beret, partially covering her hijab, Samira Abdullah is getting the hang of her new post. She's using the baton to guide traffic in the busy and chaotic streets of Somalia's Mogadishu. Samira is among the new faces patrolling the streets of the Somali capital as a traffic police officer. The force is reflecting efforts to increase the number of women in public roles amid a security crackdown, and Somalians love it.
The public also encourage me when they see me, a police woman standing in the street. They get out of their cars and congratulate us. They say, "Good job, keep it up." This encourages us. When the public you work for welcome you with open arms and are happy with the work you do for them, you can imagine just such a situation. I am very happy when the people I interact with understand me and work with me. It is very nice.
After recent Al-Shabaab attacks in Mogadishu, authorities intensified operations by deploying more personnel, setting up checkpoints and recruiting young women like 28-year-old Samira Abdullah to help control the city's traffic congestion. The role was previously off-limits for women in the conservative Muslim nation, where they traditionally worked only behind desks in administrative jobs. Abdullah's pioneering presence has inspired more Somali women to apply.
Since we employed women, we get applications from many women who also want to join the traffic police. The employed ladies showed the importance of women working in the streets and the beauty of the streets. They work well. They inspired more new women and gave them the opportunity to join the traffic police. So now we have many women applying. We want to sort them and train them. We shall select them in that way.
While Somalia remains a conservative society with patchy rule of law, Abdullah's presence is seen as a sign of gradual gains for women's rights and roles. Her position in the public sphere brings Abdullah a sense of recognition from the community. Each day, she steps onto the bustling streets of Mogadishu, her presence a symbol of the evolving role of women in Somali society. This is her message to her fellow women.
I encourage Somali women to become traffic police officers and work for their people.
Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
At 16, Ma Kolma Bangura juggles supporting her family through street vending while pursuing her dream of competing in Judo at the Summer Olympics for Guinea. Here is her story.
When you come across her in the streets of Conakry, you may ignore her and maybe pass a judgment of her selling yogurt in plastic bags. She has been doing this for a couple of years. It's what is sustaining her family. But Ma Kolma Bangura has a unique story to tell and a hidden talent. Every morning, this is her routine before she even sets off to the streets to sell her wares. She has to make a stopover along the way. You see, Kolma is practicing and gearing up for the Olympics, and she wants to compete in a not-so-common sport, Judo or Judo.
Judo is tough, but it's about the heart. If you have heart, you can do it. When I started Judo, many people told me not to, because it's a man's sport and that I would get injured. They said many things, but I had my goal. I love Judo.
From just looking at her, one can tell her determination on the floor. Her menacing look would scare you, but it's her grit which strikes you the most. The family's limited resources have not deterred her ambitions, and even though she did not qualify for the Olympics this year, she does not plan on letting up from her training. The teenage athlete's perseverance encapsulates the resilience of Guinea's young talent overcoming obstacles to chase their sporting dreams. For Bangura, that means balancing family duties with her ultimate goal of winning a medal on Judo's biggest stage.
It's through this business that I feed my family. I won't be discouraged as long as I'm in it. I'll work hard. My dream after Judo is to join the military. That's what's in my heart. The day I finish Judo, I will be a soldier. That's what's in my mind.
Bureau Report, WION World is One.
I'm Eric Njoka. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Wild of Africa. Stay in touch with us on all our social media platforms and tell us about the show there. To all our viewers in the Sahel, au revoir, goodbye.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show.